James Gunn had us all convinced that Brainiac was going to be the big bad in Man of Tomorrow. We all speculated on it. He dropped a tease. He said he knew exactly what he was doing when he posted that image. He knew that we would all suspect that it was Brainiac, but it turns out it was never Brainiac, and now we're going to have to talk about it. Hello everyone, welcome to Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you are a fan and looking forward to the future of the DCU, hit that subscribe button. I talk about it and discuss it with you all in the comments down below. And let me know your thoughts on the Peacemaker finale and your hopes for the future of the DCU. I would love to hear any opinion that you have. I just ask that you be respectful because it's fun conversation. This is all entertainment. We are here to talk about entertainment. When I was a kid, we talked about these characters as cartoon shows, as comic books, and as collecting trading cards. So I just like to talk about it and I have fun with it. But let's get right into this because right from the get-go, Brainiac. We all suspected Brainiac. But if you go way back, I think his interview with Michael Rosenbaum, if you go that far back, which was like 2 or 3 years ago, which really put the Inside of You podcast on the map, I believe it was a James Gunn episode, like blew the doors off of any view that and listen he ever had. If you go back to that one, he kind of says like, he wasn't a fan of Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. He was like, nah, I wasn't really my guy. He liked Rosenbaum. He's liked a couple other. He doesn't touch on Jesse Eisenberg, who I think is everybody's favorite by far. But he says he never really liked Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. And then we get Our Superman 2025. I'm calling it ours because it's the modern one, and this is the one that the kids now are growing up in, and that's going to be theirs. But anyway, the new Superman movie, and Nicholas Hoult, I think we can all agree, crushed Lex Luthor. Now you can compare him to Gene Hackman, Michael Rose, whatever. That's not the point. He was really good in the role. Just, we don't need to compare all the time. He was just very good as Lex Luthor, and I think we all wanted to see more. One thing that disappointed me was he was arrested right away. Watching the movie, I was like, man, they got him behind bars right away. This is like killing the Joker in the first Batman movie. I remember when I was a kid, Side Akbar, my mom and I were very, very pissed off at that. But I was kind of disappointed that he was behind bars already because I was like, man, this is a criminal mastermind. He is the smartest man on the planet, and he's already arrested after one movie. I thought, whatever. And then, of course, Peacemaker's coming out, and then they announced Man of Tomorrow, and it's a team up between Superman and Lex Luthor. All right, cool. Brainiac was what everybody suspected. I think I did a video that was Parasite first because they were going to base it maybe slightly on the animated cartoon Man of Tomorrow, but whatever. Parasite, I think, would still be cool under James Gunn, but that's besides the point now. It seemed like it was going to be Brainiac. We all suspected Brainiac. It was going to be fun with Brainiac. Last night after the Peacemaker finale, if you have not seen the Peacemaker finale, you got to go watch it because I'm going to do spoilers. But after that Peacemaker finale, I was like, oh, Desaad is going to be our villain. But James Gunn, right after, probably right when I dropped that review, had an interview with Variety, and he said, I need everybody to calm down. Just hold on to your pants. Don't expect the comic Salvation run to be what I'm doing with Salvation in the movies. So now, if you haven't seen it and you're still here, and if you have seen it, the Salvation comic run in the comics was pretty awesome, and there's a really cool idea for it, but this is what they did in the comics. Basically, it was, what if all villains got dumped on a hell planet? Think Suicide Squad meets Lord of the Flies, but with Lex Luthor, the Joker, and Vandal Savage all trying to be king of the mountain. The setup was Amanda Waller and Checkmate Trick almost every major DC villain. Grodd, Cheetah, Luthor, Joker, Bane, Catwoman, the Rogues, everyone, just pick a villain and they were there. Into being teleported to this brutal alien world under the guise of containment, but it's a total setup. Earth just yeets its worst possible people into space. And what follows is straight chaos. Luthor wants order, Joker wants anarchy, Grodd's eating people, and the villains split into factions. It's power struggles, betrayals, and survival horror, all wrapped up in the gritty villains-only event that ends up tying into the lead-up to Final Crisis. It's one of those dark, underrated DC stories that shows what happens when you remove the heroes and let the bad guys eat each other alive, and quite literally. So the idea of Salvation sounds pretty awesome on the surface, but he's not going to do probably any of that, right? I mean, Joker, Grodd would be cool. Maybe, but I don't think we're not going to get Joker. I don't think those characters are going to show up anytime soon. And if they do, they're definitely not a part of this Salvation arc that James Gunn is working on right now. I think this arc, we know now from last night that Peacemaker is going to be there. I highly suspect going in to Man of Tomorrow that at some point during that movie, Hawk Girl is going to be shunned and moved over into that portal as well. Because I think like the events of Superman, what she did in Superman, James Gunn said there will be ramifications. He said this online, on Threads. He said there will be ramifications for her actions. The only ramifications you can think of now is she murdered a political leader. We got to get her out of here. And I think that's going to be the first ball to drop, because in this Variety interview that he gave after the finale of Peacemaker, James Gunn said, when we get to World of Tomorrow, we're going to see that metahumans just start disappearing. So that means by the time we're there, it'll be more than just Peacemaker on this planet from hell, which Argus doesn't think is a planet from hell, right? They think that it's nice and cozy and you can live there and everything. But we know there are killer beasts there. And that's, look, Brainiac was a speculation going into it. I said decide, we got Dark Side, all these things that could be. I'm starting to think now that mech suit that Lex Luthor's wearing is for a freaking giant, like, dinosaur killer coming out. James Gunn loves his kaijus. And the reason why I say that is that might sound like a letdown, and maybe it could be, but I don't think it is, because I think what Gunn is doing, going back to what I started talking about, how he was disappointing Gene Hackman and how I was like, why are you arresting Lex Luthor right away, is I think he is positioning Lex Luthor to be an absolute criminal mastermind that's going to live on in the DCU for a long period of time, and this is phase one, and he is the true villain. Like, if you remember Peacemaker, he's pulling the strings behind Rick Flag Sr. Where Rick Flag Sr. ends up, I don't know. He's full villain mode now. He might come back, though. I still think he's drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too heavy. He's on the side of humanity. I think he believes deep down. I think he, other than the Peacemaker incident, obviously, I believe deep down, though, he believes what he's doing is right for Earth, for humankind. I actually think he believes that. Obviously, that's not the case, but I think he actually truly believes that. Now, at some point, I could see him learning the wrongs of his ways. Maybe not, but I could see that happening. But I think Lex Luthor is who they're positioning to be the big bad in this arc. James Gunn said he had 4 Superman movies, right? Not Supergirl wasn't included that. So not Supergirl. It was Superman, Man of Tomorrow, and then 2 other ones to follow up. We don't know what they are. We won't get a clue of what they are until after Man of Tomorrow. So we got to wait 2 years to get a clue of what those are. But I think Lex Luthor is going to be the big bad, possibly for all 4 of them. But the thing is, they'll hide him as the big bad underneath an actual big bad, like the Hanna-Barbera, like some killer dinosaur monster thing that's going to come out of Salvation. Like, they're going to hide Lex Luthor as the villain until the 4th one, when you learn that. Now, I could suspect even after that, he might remain the big bad. I think we're going to get the Legion of Doom. I really think that James Gunn is going to pull off the Legion of Doom. I think we're going to get there to some degree. I don't know when. It might be after Man of Tomorrow. That might be where we lead. But right now, I think Man of Tomorrow, the threat that's going to come isn't going to be any big supervillain that we know and love. I think it's going to be a giant-ass kaiju, which could be a lot of fun. He loves Godzilla -1. Everybody loves Godzilla -1. Maybe that's all it is. But it's the concept of these two, the supervillain and superhero, teaming up to defeat this, is what it is. And then you actually learn more about Lex Luthor, because he is the smartest man on the planet. Rick Flag Sr. says that. And so I that's what I think. I think the whole thing right now that we're going into, I think Gunn's tease of the brain and everything, we all thought Brainiac, that's Lex Luthor, the smartest man alive. And we're going to get that, and he's going to be the villain for it. And look, man, Nicholas Hoult got paid $2 million for Superman, for the first Superman movie. He got paid $2 million, which was above and beyond what anybody else got paid. I think they're positioning him to be the ultimate villain. And I think they're going to do, because look, man, like, Marvel is fantastic. I love the Marvel movies, especially the first 10 years. But what, Thanos was in 2 movies. We didn't get a lot of villains stretching out. And if I'm wrong on this, just correct me. But from what I remember, right, it felt like a lot of them felt like this is the villain, and the villain was basically, the evil version of the hero for a lot of times. I think villains were the weak links. But Lex Luthor is a great villain. And I just think the idea of stretching out villains for this time, stretching out one villain like Lex Luthor, and then having little villains pulled up in there like Ultraman and maybe Bizarro, whatever, he comes back as Bizarro. But like, you have things like that. But Lex Luthor is the core of evil in this series. That's Superman, right? Like, that is, like, you could take away all the, DC, but if you strip it all down, Superman and Lex Luthor. Yeah, Brainiac would be great, and potentially Brainiac will show up. And also, do you want to rush right into Brainiac? Because if you rush into Lex Luthor, you don't have to wipe him out. He can go back to prison, whatever. He can end up still on Salvation like he does in the comics as well, under a different circumstances and whatnot. But I think Lex Luthor is your big bad for the next 4 Superman movies. Not like the DCU, whatever it's building towards, is building towards. I think now, I think like the Desaad, the dark side stuff, I think that is where it's ultimately going to build from with Salvation. But I think for the next 4 Superman movies, we're going to get Lex Luthor as the big bad. And then you'll see, and I keep saying the seeds have been planted for all those guys, and they're going to water them over those movies. And we've got this 10-year plan that James Gunn has. And chapter 1 is Gods and Monsters. Gods and Monsters. Lex Luthor is, I guess he's a monster, but he's not a god. Superman, I guess, it's a god. So it's God and Monsters. But Darkseid, Desaad are both. So that I think something's going to culminate in them being the big bad for everybody. But they haven't got, the thing is, it's so exciting to talk about, and I got rushed into it too. I was excited for all this stuff. But if you think about it, they're great characters, and maybe Superman could take them on his own, but we don't have a Batman. We don't have a Wonder Woman. We don't have a Flash. We have one Green Lantern. We're getting 2 more in the summer. Like, we don't have characters established yet to take them on. And that would be a total rush. And so I think the idea of Salvation not being exactly the comic book run, using it for what it is, I think this is a smart play that he's doing, and using Lex Luthor as your villain. He's an established villain already, and he is a big bad, and he's smart and manipulative, and he's taking advantage of Rick Flag right now. And I say, bring it. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. And let me know what you guys think. Am I onto something? Am I off? Is it going to be Desaad still? Is it going to be Darkseid? Is it going to be Brainiac? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate your time. Hit the like button and subscribe button. Until next time, may be the master of your own universe.